In a busy world, how do you take time to really feel like yourself? Now, I am a 40-something woman with a full-time job, a partner, a cat, a wider family, friends, and I have a lot going on. And I also am dealing with some fun chronic conditions. 4-day migraine this week, anybody? And it is really hard when you feel like you are flat out all the time to feel like yourself. When you hit your 40s, you feel like you've lost a lot of who you used to be, who you thought you were going to be back in your early 20s when you envisioned what adult life was going to be like. And that's the real world, and it can be hard to come to terms with. But we can try and introduce little tiny habits to reclaim you. Now, this isn't a prescriptive list. I have numbered them 1 to 10, but you don't have to tick them all off. You don't have to do all of them. I recognise that some of them are me coming from a position of privilege in terms of time and money, and you don't have to do all of them. These are just suggestions for little things you can find time for in your week that might help you feel a bit more like you again. Some of them are practical and you've probably heard them before, and others hopefully are a bit more unique and give you some ideas for stuff to try. I'm Becca, I talk too much, and let's take a look at tiny habits to reclaim you. Number 1 is really simple, and you've probably heard it dozens of times across the internet: water and coffee in the morning. Now, unlike every other influencer out there, influencer Rebecca, your last video got 16 views, chill out. I'm not going to tell you you must have a litre of water before you touch your coffee in the mornings, because I would say at least have the two together. If you can have a glass of water before you start hitting the caffeine, fantastic. If you need that cup of coffee to get you started in the morning, have a couple of sips and alternate it with a glass of cold water. I'm not going to go into the medical side of things, you've probably heard it all, but it is true. Having a glass of water first thing in the morning does help the system get started. It helps reduce your cortisol levels rather than jumping straight to coffee, and it just helps balance you out and hydrate you for the start of the day, because you've not drunk anything the whole time you've been sleeping, you've been dehydrating, so rehydrate. How is this reclaiming you? Well, it just makes you feel better for the start of your day. And it's a really tiny little thing that can help you feel like you're doing something to take care of yourself. Habit number 2, move your body. That simple. If you're anything like me, you work a sedentary job, you sit at an office desk for far too long, and you struggle to find time to get up and move around. If you have the ability to do so, I really recommend doing something in the mornings, which can combine with our next habit. But getting up and doing something in the mornings, I try and do 20 to 30 minutes of exercise every morning. I just follow a YouTube video. I've got some home weights. I've got a yoga mat. Even if it's just doing some stretches, move your body, especially first thing in the morning. I guarantee it'll suck when you start doing it and you won't want to get out of bed and do it, but you will feel better throughout the day because you have moved your body. If you don't have time in the mornings, after work works too. And if that isn't going to work either, at least try and get up during your work day. Tiny habit number 3 is going outside. And as I say, if you can combine this with your exercise, especially in the morning, brilliant. Sunlight on your eyeballs first thing in the morning really does help. But an evening walk, going outside at lunchtime, sitting outside with a coffee for a little bit, just being outside in the fresh air really, really makes a difference throughout your day. And if you're a nature lover like me and you can get out into the countryside for a walk, it feels so rejuvenating. It really does. It can feel peaceful, it can feel energizing, it can just make you feel more at one with the world. So any time spent outside is never wasted time. Habit number 4 is time alone. And again, combine this with the last one. If you can go for a nice walk out in the countryside by yourself and just soak it all in peacefully by yourself, oh, so nice. And time alone can be really hard to get when you're somebody who has to work in an office, somebody who's got a partner or a family at home. If you've got kids, it must be incredibly difficult. I can't speak to that, I don't have any, but finding time alone, I know from my friends who are mums, is very, very difficult, and you cherish that time when you can get it, which is why it's worth really trying and making the effort to get some time. And I'm not talking hours, though if you can do, excellent, but even 20 minutes to yourself is so refreshing. I will just try and enjoy time spent in my own company, because we don't get enough of it, so we really should enjoy it when it happens. Conversely, habit number 5 is time spent with friends. I talked about this in a previous video talking about friendship in your 40s. Time with friends can go one of two ways. And I'm not talking about the acquaintances who are quite draining on your time and you don't feel relaxed after being with them. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, that handful of friends or 1 or 2 friends you may have who you don't come away from time with them feeling tired. You feel relaxed, you feel rejuvenated. Those people, spend time with them. And I know it's hard with everybody's schedules, trying to line them up, trying to find free time where you're all free. I have 3 very close friends, and trying to get us all in the same place at the same time is very difficult and tends to only happen a handful of times a year. But we work at it and we schedule it and we find time. In fact, we're meeting up tomorrow. We've got some time spent outside together, and I cannot wait because time with friends is different from time with family or partners. It's a different side of yourself, and it's just fun to do every so often. Habit number 6. Say no more often. If you do not have the energy, if you do not have the time, then say no to things. Whether that's at work or outside of work, whether it's friends and family, whether it's social commitments, say no when you have to. Your time is precious and important to you, so don't give it away if you don't want to. This is something I found really hard to do because I am a people pleaser and I struggle to say no to people, but I'm learning. Saying no is one of the most powerful things you can do to reclaim who you are. Habit number 7. This is a slightly odd one, but tidy one space in your house. This sounds like I'm giving you a chore, and I kind of am, but it really does help reset yourself and your space. And I'm not talking about a blitz across the whole apartment or the whole house. I'm talking about one space. Even if it's one drawer or one cupboard, one shelf, tidy one area. If I'm feeling slightly out of control with things, I find tidying the smallest room in my house really helpful. That's usually the downstairs bathroom. It's not even 1 metre by metre squared. It's a tiny room, but you know what? Dusting in there, tidying the cupboard, wiping the surfaces down, I feel like I've achieved something. I feel like I've got some control back, and I've got one room that's tidier and no longer on my anxiety list. It gives you something to do that is very manageable. It is very doable, and therefore you feel achievement when you tick it off your list. The act of tidying can also be quite therapeutic, finding homes for things, organising things, and the satisfaction of a job done. When you're feeling stressed and overwhelmed, pick that one tiny place, tidy it, and I guarantee you will feel better. Habit number 8 is sleep better. Now, in my last video, I talked about how to wind down for an evening and recapture that slow living after work. And that is a good starting point for reclaiming your evenings and reclaiming your sleep. If you're an ADHDer like me, it can be really easy to feel like you have to stay awake, stay up late, scroll on your phone, watch videos, just sort of revenge procrastinate because you feel like you've spent your entire day doing stuff you didn't want to do, work, and now you just want to do what you want to do, scroll Instagram. But ultimately, you're not getting anything out of scrolling social media, and you're missing out on sleep. And sleep is when you heal, it's when you repair, it's where your brain settles, and it obviously refreshes you for the next day when you've got to get up and do everything all over again. Sleep is vital. Good quality sleep helps you lose weight, it helps you be healthier, and it helps your mental health. So doing anything you can to get a good night's sleep, and I don't just mean sleeping 9 hours, I mean quality sleep. So making sure your room is a good temperature, making sure you're comfortable, you've got the right pillows, making sure you're hydrated before you go to bed, and doing anything you need to do to sleep through the night. Again, ADHD brain here, anxiety brain. I struggle to fall asleep because my brain is racing, and if I wake up in the middle of the night, falling back to sleep is so difficult. So I've found something that works for me. I sleep with those very attractive flat headband earphones, and they allow me to listen to audiobooks as I fall asleep. They also mean that if I wake up in the middle of the night, I can press play and just listen to something familiar as I drift off again. It's really changed the quality of my sleep. It's changed how long I sleep, how easy I fall back to sleep if I wake up, and it's genuinely made a big difference to my life. Habit number 9. This is a fun one. Take up a hobby and stick with it, even if you're bad. There is a lost art to having a hobby you're bad at. We feel like we have to excel at everything we do. And again, like there's a certain level of ADHD perfectionism creeping in here and classic first child syndrome. But I don't like doing things I'm bad at. And that means I don't have a lot of experience at it, and I get grumpy when I'm bad at things, and that's not helpful in life. None of us are perfect at everything, and I'd be worried if anybody was. Doing something you enjoy, even if you're bad at it, is such a worthwhile pursuit and a worthwhile use of your time. I am trying to reclaim my writing. I used to write a lot when I was younger, but fell out of it in my 20s, and I've struggled to get that back, and it's something I really enjoy, and I know I'm not ever gonna even realistically ever write a book. I'd love to write a book on some of the stuff I've been through on bereavement and grief, but I am probably never gonna have the mental space to do it. That said, I'm trying. I'm writing a little bit every now and then, and half of what I write I hate. But practice makes perfect, and the more I do it, the more I remember how much I enjoyed writing. Which brings me on to our final habit number 10, which is reclaim something you once loved. Now, whether this is a hobby or just something you used to watch or something you used to listen to, an old band, something you loved when you were younger and you just don't do anymore. And this isn't just nostalgia, though obviously listening to music we grew up with or watching a much beloved old television programme is fantastic. I'm talking about things you used to do and don't do anymore. I used to be madly fascinated with all things ancient Egyptian. It's what I did at university. But then real life gets in the way, and finding time to just spend reading articles or reading books on the topic started to pass me by. But at the start of this year, my husband took me to the Battersea Ramesses and the Egyptian Gold, or whatever it's called, exhibition, and that was fascinating. I did my dissertation on Ramesses the Great, so I loved it. We went to a local exhibit at a museum in the city nearest to us, which he found very boring, but I absolutely nerded out over, and I loved it. And it meant I picked up another book to read. Yes, more books, because I love them. But this one was on tomb robbery in ancient Egypt, and oh my gosh, it was fascinating. And that pointed me in the footnotes to a book which was a telling of a journey back in the 1920s up the Nile. And that made me go and find some books by my former professors and their partners on women in ancient Egypt. And it's just been so nice to pick up something I was so passionate about when I was younger and find joy in it again. We can never truly reclaim exactly who we were when we were younger, and we can't go back to being our past selves. And we shouldn't really want to. We've changed as people, and that's okay. We're older, wiser, with a few more grey hairs. But that doesn't mean you have to let go of all the things you loved when you were younger. It doesn't mean you have to forget who you were. And so it's really important for little habits that you can use to find you again. In this busy, non-stop world where we are constantly doing things for other people, take the time, use one or two of these little habits, more if you can, to reclaim you, to find who you are again, and embrace who you are now. I really hope you found something in this video useful. I hope you'll give some of them a try. If the things you already do that weren't on this list, let me know. And if you've got a hobby that you're bad at that you want to share, pop it in the comments. If you've got something you used to love doing when you were younger and you want to take it up again, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to share any comments, and I hope I will see you in the next video. I'm Becca. I talk too much. Take care, everyone.